didn't realize how much I cared about this family until
Good.
I revisited them.
I love that.
Did you find that you and John were just talking about them like long after the first movie wrapped and figuring out what was going on with them?
Well, it's funny because I think it's out there. You know, we've talked about it quite openly that we were both dragging our heels about the idea of a sequel, just because you know the first one's so precious in some ways. It was like lightning in a bottle. Like, how do you recreate that? And so the approach mentally became that to see it as a continuation rather than a sequel, or something trying to outdo the other or comparative in that sense. I think it became evident to us the investment people had in this family, and what happens next. We were asked by everyone, what happens to them? What happens to them? Where do they go? What do they do?
Right.
So I think that just became the inevitable, undeniable plot point that needed to happen, you know.
I'm enjoying playing who were the Abbotts before all this.
Yeah, you see a bit of it.
A little bit of it, yeah. So it almost feels like they had a prominent position in the town. Am I reading too far into it?
People dug the Abbotts, right?
They really did seem to like it.
I mean, Lee was the mechanic.
Right.
He was the mechanic. He could fix anything for you. Super techie, super able, capable.
Right.
Everyone loves him. You see him walk past the ladies in the hair salon, they're like, you know.
And that town was so noisy.
It was so noisy.
It's so noisy.
So noisy.
But
I always thought Evelyn was like a teacher. You know, I saw her as like a primary school teacher or something like that. Some kind of educator, someone kind of creative.
Ronnie, what do we got? Some kind of fire? We got units headed out there now.
I realize I come to these movies and I want to learn more about the alien origins. And I didn't realize how important it was to me. How important is it to you? Do you even really need to know that type of stuff? Do you fill your cast in on that? We do learn a little bit more about it in this one. I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah.
But how important is that to you as you're writing this story?
Oh, it's really important. I mean, again, I think that the thing I found most exciting after the first one was that people were excited to learn more about the things I wanted to learn more about. So even though I had said I didn't want to do a second one, I loved reading that people were like, who's on the other end of the fires? And what's it like to live in this world if you're not in the Abbott family? And then the other one was, where do these creatures come from?
Yeah.
And so I knew that if I did do a second one, how I wanted to deal with the sort of where the creatures came from was to, again, piecemeal this information as you go, right? Because I think that in the moment, what makes things so terrifying is that you don't have all the backstory, right? So, you know, God forbid, any bad things that happen from a weather event to, you know, a horrible incident with an actual person, you don't know where they're coming from. You don't know why they're doing what they're doing. And that makes it scarier. Right. So I felt like if I tell you all the information of where they're coming from, you'll be ahead of the story and you won't feel like one of these characters. And so I wanted to put you in the place of these characters.
Yeah, I think all you need to know is that they invade.
Right.
They invade. That's what they do. And so why they invade or is sort of irrelevant to me, because it's really, the movie's not about the creatures, it's about humanity and how humanity survives.
I think that when I'm in my character, I really look in more about, I'm looking more in the terms of the relationships. It depends on, I can't say anything. I can't say anything about the movie specifically, but I did ask John about, mostly we talked about our relationship, what's our background, what kind of vibes do we have together, but yeah.
Well, what I loved about the first movie was like, right, here's the situation and it's happening, deal with it. And I think this is an extension of it, and you get a little more information, obviously, but I think what makes it great is that people put themselves immediately into the situation of what would I do?
Right.
How would I protect my kids? How would I survive in the face of this? And
so the
backstory is
not
not
really
important,
Right.
necessary. You know,
Right.
If there's a third, we might find out.
Yeah, eventually. So, I love when you chose to put us in Millie's point of view and take away our hearing.
Yes.
Please talk about how you decided when to do that. You know, when were the best moments to do that for the audience?
Well, we had always hinted at it in the first movie that she had this envelope, right? That there is a a slightly audible thing that she can hear, which is actually truly organic to Millie. Where that came from was I saw Millie and her mom talking, and they both do. Her mom will speak to her as she's signing, and I said, "Can Millie hear anything?" And she said she actually can. It's sort of an environment, and so if there's a loud noise behind her, she can feel it and she can hear it a little bit, but it's a very muffled version. So I took that and put it right in our first movie. I said, "Wow, wouldn't it be amazing if we could capture what it is Millie hears on a regular day? And if she takes her hearing aid out, you're at 0 decibels silence."
Right.
And so I knew I always wanted to play with that. You do it a quick second in the first one, but in this one, I thought if I could pair the idea of her hearing nothing but silence in the moment that she's the most desperate and the most feeling alone and the most feeling that she failed, those two things would come together in an emotional and audible way, and I hope he pulled it off. It's one of my favorute parts of the movie.
I was cursing you in those
Awesome.
elements.
I'll take it.
I thought the sibling relationship that you guys established in this movie was much stronger. Can you talk about what kind of work you put into building that for this movie?
We're really close. And in this movie, we're closer than ever. I think it's because we're the only 2 children in the movie, and we share a lot of similarities. We both actually in life click, so it's easy on set. I think, we just feel like one of a kind. I think in the first movie, we would see each other every day, and we kept in touch after the first film, and we kept in touch, and so it was so easy to start this relationship up again in A Quiet Place 2, and very nice to start it up again.
Mr. Hounsou, I'm gonna do this. Why don't you tell me what you can tell us about your involvement in this story?
All I can tell you, it's very interesting to talk about a film that, which story you can't really talk about, and certain aspects or even my character I can't really tell you about. But I can tell you about the experience of working with John.
Okay.
And obviously being directed, I approached the film as if it was a silent film almost.
Yeah.
And obviously walk on stage almost like the couple of last weeks of filming. And met Cillian, who on set looks like he just came from such a journey.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's one way to put it, for sure.
The people that are left, what they've become, they're not the kind of people worth saving.
What did you guys most admire about the first movie, just watching it as audience members and not participating in the series just yet?
It's just the organic nature of the telling of the story that I thought that was quite gripping, and the idea of having to make a movie about a quiet place where the essence of living, really, of surviving in life is by the first minute you come out of your mother's womb and taking your first breath. It's literally, project a sound. A baby has to scream as it come out.
Sure. And then he puts a childbirth scene in the movie.
There you go. Makes it even more, challenging.
Watching the first one again this week, it almost seems much more laid back almost. This one is so physical. For your role in particular as well too. Was the shoot that way also? Did you find that it was more taxing physically?
Yes. Yes, it's a very physical, and it takes a lot of stamina compared to the first one. I think that I did a lot more stunt work in this film, a lot more running, as you can see in the film, yes.
And is this a character that you'd like to sort of come back to maybe every 2 or 3 years and keep seeing where she goes?
I do want to see where she goes. I want to see at what would be her next step. What kind of place is she going to end up in? And what is her role in life going to be? And what's her relationship going to be with everyone else?
Good. You keep making them and we'll keep coming back.
Oh, I will. Oh, definitely I will.
Thank you very much.
You don't know, do you? Oh, I do. The people that are left,